The Buddha's warning. Stop doing this to yourself every single day. The cool autumn wind carries the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves, a gentle but persistent reminder that nothing stays the same, that the world is in a constant state of shedding its old skin. We sit in our modern rooms, surrounded by the hum of electricity, the flashing lights of screens, and the relentless invisible pressure to be somewhere else, to be someone else, to be better, faster, and more accomplished. We feel a subtle, continuous friction in our chests, a tight knot right below the ribs that never truly unfastens. Even when we sleep, it is the weight of a world that demands we constantly measure, evaluate, and categorize everything and everyone around us. We walk through our days like inspectors in our own lives, checking boxes, assigning grades to our experiences, labeling this moment as good, that person as difficult, this feeling as unacceptable, and that mistake as unforgivable. We have become prisoners of our own metrics, trapped in a continuous loop of assessment that promises clarity, but delivers only a profound, aching isolation. Listen to the sound of your own breath in this very moment. If you pay close attention, you might notice that even the way you breathe is being judged by a quiet, critical voice inside your head. You might think your breath is too shallow, too ragged, or not deep enough. We cannot even let our lungs expand and contract without appending a commentary, without deciding whether our current state of existence meets the required standard. This is the underlying static of modern consciousness, a low-frequency hum of dissatisfaction that distorts every conversation we have, every sunset we watch, and every mirror we look into. We are drowning in a sea of opinions, most of them our own, and we wonder why we feel so profoundly disconnected from the world and from ourselves. We have built a fortress of concepts and definitions around our hearts, believing it would protect us from pain. But we have only succeeded in locking ourselves in a cold, dark room where no true understanding can enter. Consider the layout of a modern city, designed with precise grids, concrete barriers, and traffic lights that dictate exactly when to move and when to stand still. We have modeled our inner landscapes after this rigid architecture. We look at a cloudless morning sky, and instead of simply feeling the warmth of the sun on our skin, our mind immediately starts calculating how this weather will affect our commute. Or we compare it to a better day we experienced 3 years ago in another country. We look at the person sitting across from us at the dinner table, someone we claim to love, and instead of seeing the living, breathing, vulnerable human being before us, we see a composite sketch of their past flaws, their political views, their annoying habits, and their failure to anticipate our needs. We are not living in reality. We are living in a museum of our own judgments, looking at life through the scratched glass of our personal biases and calling it truth. This perpetual evaluation creates an invisible, systemic exhaustion within our physical bodies. We carry the strain of our mental courtrooms in our muscles, our tendons, and our organs. When we look at our reflection in the morning and immediately point out the new line around our eyes or the gray hair at our temples with a sense of disappointment, a microscopic chemical cascade is triggered. The body registers the negative judgment not as an abstract thought, but as a physical threat. The nervous system does not know the difference between a predator in the bushes and a harsh self-criticism delivered in the privacy of the bathroom. Both are perceived as an attack, and so the body prepares for battle. The shoulders creep upward toward the ears, the jaw locks, the throat tightens, and the heart rate hitches. We spend our lives in a state of low-grade, chronic defense, bracing ourselves against the very thoughts we are generating. Let us observe a specific embodiment of this modern affliction, a pattern of living that many of us will find intimately familiar. Imagine a person who has achieved what society defines as success. Let us call this archetype the achiever. From the outside, their life looks seamless, efficient, and enviable. They have the title, the apartment, the tailored wardrobe, and the curated social media presence that signals absolute control. But if we look closer, if we look beneath the polished surface, we see the structural cracks caused by the immense weight of constant evaluation. Watch them as they sit at their desk late at night, long after the office has emptied. The glow of the laptop screen illuminates a face that is taut with anxiety. Notice the way their teeth are ground together, the muscles of the jaw standing out like small wires under the skin. Their breath does not reach their abdomen. It stops short in the upper chest, a rapid, shallow panting that keeps their survival instincts on a permanent high alert. When the achiever walks into a meeting, their mind is not present in the room, it is operating like an advanced radar system, scanning the environment for threats to their status. Every comment made by a colleague is dissected for hidden meanings. If someone disagrees with their proposal, it is not seen as a difference of opinion, it is evaluated as a direct assault on their competence. The mind immediately goes to work, building a case against the colleague, labeling them as incompetent, threatened, or malicious. This is the psychological armor they wear to protect an incredibly fragile core. The tragedy of this existence is that the achiever can never experience satisfaction. If a project succeeds, the relief lasts for a few minutes before the internal judge demands to know what the next target is, reminding them that their value is only as good as their last performance. They are running on a treadmill that has no stop button, driven by the terrifying belief that if they pause, if they drop their guard and stop evaluating their progress, they will fall into an abyss of worthlessness. This pattern manifests physically in ways that medicine often treats as isolated symptoms, failing to see the emotional architecture behind them. The tightness in the back of the neck, that persistent ache that feels like a heavy iron bar resting across the shoulders, is the physical manifestation of carrying the responsibility of being the ultimate judge of one's universe. The stomach is perpetually sour, the digestive tract cramped and irritable, because the body cannot digest food properly when it is constantly flooded with the stress hormones produced by an adversarial mind. The act of swallowing becomes conscious and difficult, as if there is a permanent lump in the throat, the physical suppression of unspoken words, of tears that were deemed too weak to cry, of a vulnerability that was judged as dangerous. When the achiever tries to sleep, their mind refuses to shut down. It replays the events of the day, conducting a trial where they are simultaneously the prosecutor, the defendant, and the hanging judge. They toss and turn, their muscles unable to fully release into the support of the mattress, because to relax completely feels like letting down their defense in a hostile world. This is not a life, it is a siege, and it is not unique to the high-powered executive. It is the condition of the student who believes their entire future depends on a single exam grade. It is the parent who judges their worth by the behavior of their toddler in a crowded supermarket. It is the artist who cannot paint a single stroke without hearing a voice that tells them it is unoriginal and useless. We have outsourced our sense of peace to an internal tribunal that is incapable of mercy. We believe that by judging ourselves harshly, we can force ourselves to become better people. We believe that by judging others, we can protect ourselves from being hurt or deceived. But this is the great illusion of the ego. Judgment does not protect us. It paralyzes us. It does not improve us. It merely deforms us into a rigid shape that cannot bend with the winds of life, making us prone to breaking when the storms inevitably come. More than 2,000 years ago, a man sat beneath the spreading canopy of a Bodhi tree and looked deeply into the mechanics of this human suffering. He did not look at it as a judge, nor did he condemn the human mind for its flaws. Instead, he observed it with the radical, uncompromising curiosity of a scientist of the spirit. The Buddha saw that our existence is fundamentally marked by friction, by an inherent unsatisfactoriness that arises not because the world is inherently evil, but because we are constantly demanding that the world be something other than what it is. He observed that we are struck by two arrows in our lives. The first arrow is the unavoidable pain of existence, the physical illness, the loss of a loved one, the natural aging of the body, the sudden reversal of fortune, the rain that spoils the harvest. This first arrow is a given. It is the tax we pay for being alive, for having a physical form in a universe governed by change. No amount of wealth, power, or spiritual practice can prevent the first arrow from landing, however. The Buddha pointed out that we do not stop at the first arrow. Almost immediately after we are struck by the pain of life, we pick up a second arrow and shoot it directly into the same wound. This second arrow is our mental reaction to the first. It is the judgment, the resentment, the blame, and the narrative we construct around our pain. When the body falls ill the first arrow, the mind immediately fires the second arrow. Why is this happening to me? I don't deserve this. My body is failing me. I'm going to lose everything because I'm sick. This shouldn't be happening. It is this second arrow that causes the true agony. The first arrow causes pain. The second arrow creates suffering. The first arrow is an event. The second arrow is an opinion. And while we have very little control over where the first arrow lands, the second arrow is entirely of our own making. We are the ones pulling the bowstring. We are the ones aiming at our own hearts. The fuel that launches this second arrow is our deep-seated addiction to judgment, which is rooted in a fundamental misunderstanding of reality. We live under the illusion of a solid, unchanging self and ego that must be defended at all costs. We believe that there is a permanent I inside us that needs to be right, that needs to be superior, that needs to conquer every situation. To maintain this illusion of solidity, the ego must constantly draw borders between itself and the rest of the world. It does this through the mechanism of attraction and aversion, liking and disliking, praising and blaming. When we judge someone else as inferior, dishonest, or foolish, our ego experiences a temporary intoxicating rush of inflation. We feel large, righteous, and safe. But this safety is a ghost. By reinforcing the boundary between me and them, we deepen our sense of separation, which is the ultimate root of all fear and anxiety. We forget that the person we are judging is made of the exact same human fabric as we are, navigating the same currents of confusion and vulnerability. To truly understand this is to realize that our judgments are never actually about the person or object we are evaluating. They are a mirror of our own unhealed wounds, our own unmet needs, and our own deepest fears. When you find yourself intensely judging someone for their laziness, it is often because you have an internal tyrant that refuses to let you rest, a part of you that believes your survival depends on ceaseless productivity. When you judge someone for their emotional volatility, it is usually because you were taught early in life that your own emotions were dangerous and had to be locked away in a dark cellar. The judgment is an act of projection, a way for the mind to avoid looking into its own abyss. We externalize our internal conflict, transforming a personal shadow into a public enemy. In doing so, we misdiagnose our pain, treating the symptom while allowing the disease of misunderstanding to fester within our soul. To dismantle this machinery of suffering, we must introduce a completely different technology of the mind. We must move from the paradigm of the courtroom to the paradigm of the forest. Consider a vast, ancient forest. When you walk through a forest, you do not look at the trees and say that oak tree should be taller, or that pine tree is too crooked, or the birch tree is showing its age too quickly. You do not judge the forest. You look at it and observe that some trees are massive and straight, while others are stunted and twisted by the wind. Some are thriving in the sunlight, while others are decaying on the damp floor, providing nourishment for new life. You accept the forest as it is in all its chaotic, imperfect perfection. You understand that every tree, every leaf, and every patch of moss is the natural consequence of countless causes and condition the quality of the soil, the availability of water, the slope of the hill, the intensity of the winter storms. The forest is not right or wrong, the forest simply is. We must learn to look at our own inner landscape and the lives of those around us with this exact same forest mind. This requires us to cultivate the art of bare attention, the practice of observing our thoughts, emotions, and sensations exactly as they are, without adding a single word of commentary, without firing the second arrow. Imagine your mind as a vast, clear mirror. A mirror does not judge the objects that pass before it. If a beautiful rose is placed in front of it, the mirror reflects the rose perfectly, without trying to hold on to it, without wishing it were redder, without feeling proud of its beauty. If an ugly, decaying object is placed before it, the mirror reflects it with the same absolute fidelity, without turning away in disgust, without condemning the object, without feeling stained by its presence. When the object is removed, the mirror remains empty, pristine, and completely unaffected. It has no memory of the rose, it has no resentment toward the decay. When an emotion arises within you, let us say it is a sudden, sharp spike of anger. The habitual response of the modern mind is to immediately take a side. Either we validate the anger, building a narrative about how wronged we are, or we judge the anger as unspiritual, unhelpful, and bad, trying to suppress it or cover it with a forced smile. Both responses are a form of ding mak, a form of entanglement that keeps us stuck. The forest mind does something entirely different. It steps back and simply observes. Ah, there is anger here. It feels like a burning heat in the chest. It feels like a tightening in the throat. The heart is beating faster. We do not call the anger a sin, we do not call it a failure. We recognize it as a temporary weather pattern passing through the sky of our awareness. We see that this anger is not me. It is simply a natural consequence of certain causes and conditions that occurred in this moment. By refusing to label it, we take away its fuel. We allow it to rise, to stay for a moment, and to dissolve back into the emptiness from which it came, leaving the mirror of our mind completely untarnished. This practice must be brought directly into our physical bodies, reversing the years of somatic tension we have accumulated. When you feel the familiar contraction of judgment happening, when your mind starts to sharpen its knives against yourself or another, stop. Pause for the space of a single breath. Bring your full awareness down out of the spinning factory of your head and place it directly into the center of your physical form. Feel the constriction in your jaw. Do not try to force it to relax. That is just another judgment, another demand that the moment be different. Instead, simply surround the tension with a warm, spacious attention. Say to that tight jaw inside your own mind, I see you, you are allowed to be here. Feel the shallow breath in your chest and allow it to be shallow. When the body feels seen without being judged, something extraordinary begins to happen. The defense mechanisms which were built to resist attack realize there is no enemy. The armor begins to soften on its own, not through force but through the sheer gentle power of non-judgmental presence. As we cultivate this capacity to observe without evaluating, a profound shift occurs in our relationship with reality. We begin to step into a new state of consciousness, a state characterized by an immovable stability and a crystal-clear transparency. We are no longer like dry autumn leaves, blown about by every passing wind of praise and blame, success and failure. We become like a deep ocean. On the surface of the ocean there may be a violent storm, with waves crashing, foam spraying, and chaos reigning. But if you dive down just 20 feet below the surface, the water is completely still, cool, and undisturbed. The storm on the surface is not denied, it is not ignored. It is simply understood to be a tiny fraction of the ocean's total depth. When our mind rests in this deep ocean of non-judgment, the dramas of the ego, the endless arguments about who is right, the frantic search for validation, the bitter recriminations of the past lose their power to shake us. We see them for what they are. Mere ripples on the surface of an infinite awareness. In this space of clear seeing, true understanding finally becomes possible. We realize that the people who have hurt us, the people we have spent years judging and condemning, were not acting out of absolute malice. They were simply human beings struck by their own first arrows, reacting blindly with their own second arrows. They were acting from their own places of trauma, confusion, and fear, using the only tools they had available to them at the time. This realization is not a condoning of harmful behavior. It is a clear-eyed recognition of the chain of cause and effect that governs human suffering. When we see this, the anger we have carried for so long dissolves, replaced by a deep, quiet compassion. We no longer feel the need to punish them with our judgment, because we see that their own confusion is already a punishment far greater than any we could devise. We are finally free to let go of the heavy burden of resentment, allowing our hearts to return to their natural, spacious state. The Buddha's final words to his followers were a simple, urgent reminder of this inherent freedom. Be a lamp unto yourselves, be a refuge unto yourselves. Take form as no external refuge. Hold fast to the truth as a lamp. He was reminding us that the capacity to awaken from the nightmare of judgment and suffering does not belong to some distant deity or external authority. It resides within our very own nature, in our capacity to look at this moment with an open, unclouded mind. The door to the prison of our opinions has never been locked. We have simply been choosing to stay inside, mesmerized by the monsters we have painted on the walls. We have the power, in any given second, to lay down our weapons, to step out of the courtroom, and to simply walk into the garden of the present moment. As you prepare to return to the rhythm of your daily life, to the world of deadlines, relationships, and responsibilities, carry this inquiry with you like a quiet friend. The next time you feel the familiar tightening in your chest, the next time you hear the sharp voice of evaluation rising in your mind to label a situation, a person, or your own heart, pause. Let the world stop spinning for just 1 second. Look beneath the label, look past the judgment, and ask yourself this single, revolutionary question. What is this moment actually like right now, before I decide whether I like it or not? In this video, we explore the profound Buddhist teaching of the two arrows to discover how our own constant self-judgment creates unnecessary suffering and chronic anxiety. Learn how to quiet the critical voice inside your head, heal your nervous system, and transition from a stressed achiever mindset to the spacious calm of the Zen forest mind. Discover the transformative power of bare attention, and learn how to treat your awareness as a clear mirror that reflects life without attachment or aversion. If you are struggling with modern exhaustion, racing thoughts at night, or an inability to relax, let these ancient teachings guide you back to your natural state of inner peace. Subscribe to our channel for more Zen stories, Buddhist wisdom, and deep relaxation insights to help you navigate the modern world with an unshakable mind. In this video, we explore the profound Buddhist teaching of the two arrows to discover how our own constant self-judgment creates unnecessary suffering and chronic anxiety. Learn how to quiet the critical voice inside your head, heal your nervous system, and transition from a stressed achiever mindset to the spacious calm of the Zen forest mind. Discover the transformative power of bare attention and learn how to treat your awareness as a clear mirror that reflects life without attachment or aversion. If you are struggling with modern exhaustion, racing thoughts at night, or an inability to relax, let these ancient teachings guide you back to your natural state of inner peace. Subscribe to our channel for more Zen stories, Buddhist wisdom, and deep relaxation insights to help you navigate the modern world with an unshakable mind.